There's a pivotal moment in many men's lives, if they're lucky, when the entire way they see women begins to shift. It's not about learning a clever line, memorizing a technique, or discovering some secret strategy. It's something deeper, a transformation in perspective that redefines how you relate to women and, in turn, how women relate to you. The insight I'm about to share isn't about manipulation. It's not about getting women to like you, to validate you, or to sleep with you. It's about something far more powerful. Seeing women as complete human beings rather than as objects of desire, sources of approval, or puzzles to be solved. The paradox is that when this shift truly happens, it naturally makes you more attractive, more trustworthy, and more magnetic than any method or game ever could. And it doesn't come from adopting new behaviors, it comes from dismantling the lens through which you've been taught to view women your entire life. ##### The prison of perception. For years, I filtered every interaction with women through the same narrow framework. Whenever I met someone new, part of my brain instantly began its assessment. Asterisk, is she single? Is she interested? What should I do to spark her interest? Asterisk. Even when I wasn't consciously pursuing someone, the filter was there. Female coworkers weren't just colleagues, they were female colleagues. Female friends weren't just friends, they were women I had either considered romantically or silently categorized as off-limits. This lens was subtle but constant. And it was exhausting, not just for me, but for the women around me, who could sense, consciously or unconsciously, that I wasn't truly seeing them for who they were. I was viewing them through the filter of my own needs, desires, and agendas. Without realizing it, I was treating them as supporting characters in my story rather than protagonists in their own. The breakthrough came when I recognized a simple but uncomfortable truth. Every woman has just as rich an internal world as I do. She has dreams, fears, hopes, insecurities, memories, and goals that shape her life. She has relationships that matter to her, wounds that still ache, and joys that sustain her. In other words, she is the main character of her own story, not an extra in mine. The day this realization sank in, deeply, not just as an intellectual idea but as something I felt in my body, everything changed. ##### A coffee shop revelation. I remember standing in line at a coffee shop, watching a woman ahead of me struggle with her order, juggling bags and a phone, clearly stressed and pressed for time. In the past, I would have immediately filtered the moment through my usual lens. Asterisk, is she attractive? Is there a way to strike up a conversation? Could this lead somewhere? Asterisk. But that day, something was different. I didn't see a woman who might or might not be interested in me. I saw a person having a difficult morning, trying to balance too many things at once, probably late for something important, just like I've been countless times myself. When I offered to help, it wasn't calculated or strategic. It wasn't a hidden attempt at connection. It was simply one human being offering kindness to another. The energy of the exchange was completely different. She accepted the help, thanked me, and we shared a brief but genuine moment before continuing with our separate lives. Nothing romantic happened, and that was the point. What shifted was inside me. I had broken through decades of conditioning that taught me to see women primarily through the lens of potential attraction. For the first time, I experienced the liberation of interacting without that filter. ##### Seeing full humanity. The ripple effects were immediate. At work, I began listening to female colleagues without that subtle undertone of attraction or competition shaping how I heard them. In social settings, I stopped monitoring myself for signs of whether women were interested, and instead allowed conversations to unfold naturally. And with women I was genuinely attracted to, the difference was profound. Instead of trying to perform confidence or run through mental strategies, I became genuinely curious. Who were they beyond how they might fit into my life? What did they care about? What challenges were they facing? What unique perspective did they bring into the world? Women felt the difference. They could tell I was actually seeing them, not just projecting my own needs onto them. They felt heard, valued, and respected, not as roles in my story, but as whole people. ##### The empathy revolution. When you begin to see women as full human beings with complex inner lives, empathy stops being theoretical and starts becoming automatic. You begin to notice things that were invisible before. Asterisk, how women constantly manage safety in ways men rarely think about. choosing parking spots under lights, checking surroundings before leaving their cars, calculating whether it feels safe to walk home alone. Asterisk how they navigate professional spaces where they're often interrupted, underestimated, or second-guessed in ways male colleagues rarely are. Asterisk how they endure the low-level evaluation and assessment that can make something as simple as a workout at the gym feel like navigating a minefield. These aren't abstract statistics or political talking points. They're daily lived realities. And when you begin to truly pay attention, you see them everywhere. A friend once told me how exhausting it was to reject men politely, never knowing how they would react. Every time I say no, she said, I have to manage his emotions. Will he get angry? Will he push harder? Will he try to make me feel guilty? Even when rejection was accepted gracefully, she had to tread carefully. Before my shift, I might have brushed this off as exaggeration. After, I realized it was the reality she lived with every day, something I had never experienced myself. This empathy didn't make me less masculine. It made me more human, and paradoxically, more attractive, because women could sense that I genuinely cared about their experience, not just about how they experienced me. ##### The liberation of letting go. The most unexpected outcome of this shift was the sheer relief of dropping the constant performance. For years, I'd carried the unspoken pressure. Am I being funny enough? Confident enough? Interesting enough? Attractive enough? Every interaction felt like an audition. When I stopped trying to impress and started simply being myself, with all my quirks, interests, and imperfections, it was liberating. Conversations flowed more easily. Connections deepened more naturally. The less I tried to be attractive, the more attractive I became. Authenticity, it turns out, is far more magnetic than performance. #### Desire transformed. My experience of attraction itself began to change. Before, even when I was being respectful, my desire often had an objectifying edge. I was drawn to features, qualities, and attributes. Women became collections of desirable parts rather than whole beings. Afterward, attraction became more holistic. I was drawn not just to appearance or traits, but to the entire person, the way she thought, the history that shaped her, the unique mix of vulnerabilities and strengths that made her who she was. This kind of attraction is deeper, more sustainable, and more satisfying. And women can feel the difference instantly. Being desired for who you are is worlds apart from being desired for how you look or what you represent. #### The ripple effects. This shift changed more than just my relationships with women. It reshaped everything. My friendships with men improved, because I stopped reducing women to objects of conquest in conversation. My professional life thrived, because I focused on collaboration instead of gender dynamics. My family relationships deepened, because I actually listened to the women in my family rather than assuming I understood their experiences. Most importantly, my romantic relationships became far richer and more fulfilling. When you see your partner as a whole human being, arguments become easier to navigate because you care about her perspective, not just about defending your own. Intimacy deepens because you're connecting with her thoughts and feelings, not just a role you want her to play. And long-term connection becomes sustainable, because you're relating to the real person, not an idealized projection. #### The practical application. This isn't abstract philosophy, it has real, practical applications you can start using today. When meeting women socially, notice your inner narrative. Are you evaluating attraction, availability, or interest? Instead, practice curiosity. What's her day been like? What challenges might she be carrying? What's important to her that has nothing to do with you? At work, reflect on how you treat female colleagues. Do you interrupt them more often? Do you assume competence automatically, or make them prove it? Are you listening to understand, or waiting to respond? In dating, can you genuinely enjoy learning about someone even if it doesn't lead to romance? Are you interested in her life as a whole person, not just how it might overlap with yours? These small shifts in awareness transform how women perceive you, and how you perceive yourself. #### The secret that changes everything. The truth is simple, but not easy. Stop seeing women primarily through the lens of your own desires and start recognizing them as whole, complex human beings with lives just as valid, layered, and meaningful as your own. This shift doesn't require perfection. It doesn't mean ignoring attraction or pretending it doesn't exist. It means expanding your awareness, softening your old conditioning, and practicing genuine curiosity. Once you start seeing women this way, you can never go back. And that change alone is enough to transform not only your relationships, but your life.